Hello and welcome to the Fuse Fund Round 2024 information session. To start, I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land that I'm working on today. I recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Fuse is Darebin's multi-arts festival that aims to reflect and celebrate what is unique about Darebin, to celebrate belonging and enable creative connections between people and uncover and explore new ideas and spaces. Fuse happens twice a year across Darebin in autumn and spring. So we really try and see Darebin lit up into a dynamic hub of creativity, really activating all areas and corners of Darebin during Fuse. Make sure you check out fusedarebin.com.au. We're really proud to have launched our autumn program just this week. Fuse Fund seeks to support the development and presentation of arts and cultural projects and events from Darebin-based artists and organisations for presentation within Fuse. This year, the Fuse Fund Round 2024 has a modest pool of $50,000 and a limited number of grants between $1,000 and $15,000 will be awarded. So there's no set number of projects that will be supported. The panel will be looking to support as many projects as possible that's viable to support with that from that pool. If you're applying to Fuse Fund for support or to develop a project that you're working on, you'll be presenting in autumn 2024. And for presentations of projects or works that are fully realised, you'll be presenting during Fuse Spring. One thing to note on this slide is that the two festivals do have subtle personality differences. So the Autumn Festival really tries to centre and celebrate events that might make people think, whereas the Spring Festival tries to centre and celebrate events that make people feel. So thinking about things like live music performances or that kind of thing. Over the next couple of slides, we've included some details of some previously supported Fuse Fund projects. This slide is giving you an outline of 3 projects that will be delivered in Fuse Autumn coming up next month. And across the next few pages, I think you might really notice that Fuse Fund has really supported a huge spectrum of works already and a huge spectrum of art forms from dance, photography, international music collaborations, long-form concerts, shows made exclusively for babies, experimental sound art, puppetry, circus, public art, participatory installations and exhibitions, documentaries, and theatre, and that's just to name a few. So on this page, with the photo of artists Ai Yamamoto and Dan West performing at Neon Parlour as part of Fuse Spring in 2022. At the bottom of this page, please take a note of this website link, and that's where you can go and check out some of Fuse's past programs and the previously supported Fuse Fund projects. So that's fusedarebin.com.au/past-programs. There's some criteria to apply for Fuse Fund 2024. The first one being the applicants must live, work or study in the city of Darebin. Second being that Fuse Fund supports arts and cultural projects that culminate in a presentation or event which takes place within the city of Darebin and takes place during Fuse. Projects should also be suitable for inclusion in the Fuse program. And what we really mean by that is that the project should be artistically vibrant and innovative, include details about the impact of the project. What's the potential reach of the project? Include details about the viability of the project. So by viability, we mean two things, whether that's budget, value for money, and the experience of the applicant to deliver. And we want to see projects that reflect the values of Fuse. And those core values I've listed there. So that's First Nations first, artist-led, bold and contemporary, projects that activate Darebin, projects that reflect Darebin's uniqueness, projects that are inclusive and creative. It would help strengthen your application if you are able to show the impact to Darebin's creative community and audiences. There's a couple of things that Fuse Fund isn't applicable for, and that is events and projects that are not arts or cultural in nature, fundraisers or neighbourhood street parties. One thing to note as well is that Fuse funds cannot be used for the hire of council venues. So you can present in council venues depending on availability, but you must use a separate pool of money other than the Fuse Fund to pay for any applicable council hire fees. There's some obligations for successful applicants. Applicants are obliged to and be completely responsible for the relationship between them and the venue. So as part of your application, make sure that you include something like a proof of quote or email that where it's obvious that you've had a tentative conversation about booking the venue, and that the venue's confirmed initial availability and that they're happy to support your presentation. So again, that venue relationship is the responsibility of the applicant. But of course, the Fuse staff and team, are always open to assisting with brokering wherever possible. Applicants must complete the conditions of grant agreement, have public liability insurance, adhere to Fuse Code of Conduct and Terms and Conditions, and you can see those, the Fuse Code of Conduct and Terms and Conditions via the Fuse Fund page on the website. You need to have a think about scenario planning, especially in the shadow of the last few years of COVID upheaval. So you should be thinking about what would happen to your event or project if one of the crew was to get sick during the development or presentation of your project. You need to make sure that you meet the requirements of Council's event permission process. Those details are available on the Darebin corporate website. And there's some access requirements that might be applicable, including we'd love to see Fuse Fund projects consider the use of captioning or descriptions of video or social media posts, and any additional access support is favourable. Applicants will need to show a willingness to allow their show or event to be interpreted, and where an event is interpreted, that's a cost that Fuse will take on. And it's great for applicants to also consider additional access support, such as audio described works or relaxed performances. Then once you've presented as part of Fuse, afterwards we just ask that you attend a debrief meeting and submit a grant acquittal. Fuse can help support its successful Fuse Fund applicants, and we can do that as follows. So successful applicants will be supported with producing and production consultations, and that's up to 3 meetings each, and that's if required. They're also able to attend a couple of publicity and marketing consultations. And we're also really proud to support all of the Fuse Fund shows with both photography and videography. So we'll work with you to organise to send a Fuse photographer and videographer to your show. They may not be able to capture all of your show, but it's a conversation we can have, and we'll work with you to schedule what's going to work best. One thing to note is that Fuse doesn't currently have our own ticketing platform. So that might happen in the future, but for now we don't. And we recommend if you are planning a ticketed show, that you have a look at platforms such as Eventbrite. Okay, so when you're applying, there's a couple of pointers and hints on this page. So your application should make clear how your arts and cultural project or event is suitable for the Fuse program. You should also make clear how your arts and cultural project or event aligns with Fuse's core values. Those core values I went through on that previous page, but again, you can see Fuse's values via the web link that I've included here, which is fusedaraben.com.au/news/fund-2024-now-open. Events or projects from applicants in Fuse's priority communities, or events or projects that support Fuse's priority communities, will be prioritised. Those communities include Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people, people who are deaf or living with a disability, culturally and linguistically diverse communities, young and older people, women and girls, including those who identify as such, LGBTIQ+ residents, or those on low incomes or experiencing socioeconomic disadvantage will be prioritised. Again, there's a note here, just make sure that your application will be strengthened if you include evidence of the project's viability. So that includes budget, that includes support material. So that's things like web links, photos, sound files, support letters, CVs, all those kinds of posters, all those kinds of elements. One thing to note, have a think about the person reading your application. How can you make their experience of reading your application easier? We generally receive quite a number of applications, so our panel work really hard to make sure that they read every single piece of support material that they receive. But you can make their job easier by indicating exact time marks on a sound file, for instance. You can indicate exactly what part of your website they should refer to when reading through particular sections. So really have a think about what's going to make their job easier in terms of getting through all of the documentation in support of your application. You will need to consider risk management for your project. You will need to consider what is the safest way to present your project, what the risks are, how you can mitigate those risks, and how are you ensuring the safety of you and your team. As part of the Fuse process, you'll need to prepare and present a risk assessment. Again, of course, the Fuse team can support you with that. Again, on the venue relationship, is the applicant's responsibility. And it's the applicant's responsibility to ensure that the venue is compliant. So the venue should be up to date with all of its permits and applicable licenses. Applicants will need to have their own public liability insurance. I mentioned that before, although just a note on this, if you do not have PLI, do not let that stop you from applying. So feel free to contact the Fuse team for a discussion about PLI. There are some options. But there's also auspicing bodies like Auspicious Arts that you can apply through. But yeah, do have a chat to us if you're not sure about PLI, and don't let it stop you from applying if you don't have it just yet. And the last note here is that just to keep in mind that you or your crew may need to present working with children checks as applicable. Again, if you're not sure about any of this, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Fuse team. We have a lot of resources in terms of child safety. I quickly touched on this before, but again, as you're applying, just have a think about scenario planning in terms of your event and how you would manage the project so that there's no disruption to the presentation outcome should anyone in your team get sick. There's some key dates listed on this page. So Fuse Fund applications are open now and they close on Sunday, the 2nd of April at 11:59 p.m. We do have an information session coming up, and that's in person at Darebin Arts Centre during Fuse. So we'd love to see you at that session if you're available. Just RSVP to fuse@darebin.vic.gov.au to register your spot. So once applications are in, that they'll go through the assessment process, and successful, all applicants will be notified during the week commencing Monday, 17th of July. Some links here. So to start your application to Fuse Fund 2024, you do that via the Smarty Grants portal. The address is darebin.smartygrants.com.au. Just a reminder to view the guidelines at fuseddarebin.com.au/news/fund-2024-now-open. During your application, you should really just let the guidelines be your guiding light. Okay, that's the end of the presentation. I'm sure, and I hope it's raised lots of questions, so please don't hesitate in reaching out to us with any questions. We love hearing from our artists in Darebin. My name is Amanda. I'm the Associate Producer in the Festivals and Events team, and you can contact me on amanda.palmer@darebin.vic.gov.au. My phone number is 03 8470 8306. Thanks again. I hope you found this really informative, and we look forward to receiving your Fuse Fund applications.